Welcome, listener. This is the final chapter of our journey together. You have walked through silence, through wounds that weren't visible, through love that felt like home, but burned from within. And now, as you arrive at this last episode of Whispers for the Weary, I ask you to lean in, just a little closer. Toxic love leaves marks you cannot see, and yet they shape who you are. You might have believed that the exhaustion you carried was just a phase, a temporary weariness, but it has seeped deeper. It has become the air you breathe, the shadow that moves with you, the quiet whisper that questions your worth in the loneliest moments. Sometimes the heart sees what is invisible to the eye. H. Jackson Brown. Junior, pause for a breath. Feel the weight of those words settle. Let them trace the outlines of your unseen scars. There is no shame in the endurance you've carried. You have survived the whispers of manipulation, the subtle games of control that tried to convince you that needing love made you weak. And now you see that it was never about your weakness, but about their inability to meet you halfway. There is a peculiar kind of clarity in exhaustion, not the clarity that promises joy, but the clarity that forces you to confront reality. The reality that love, when it turns toxic, can consume the very identity it once celebrated. Do you remember how it felt to stay silent while every part of you screamed to speak? Do you remember the nights of questioning, the endless loops of what-ifs and could-have-beens? Those nights carved something permanent into your soul. A pattern, a defense, a personality shaped not by your desires, but by the pressure to survive. You were never meant to be broken, only refined, unknown. And so refinement comes. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of emotional exhaustion, they have crafted you into someone who sees beneath the surface, who feels the depth of emptiness where others might see none. This is your secret strength, hidden beneath the quiet despair, beneath the masks you wore to be accepted. Pause. Let it sink. The strength is yours, even if it has been cloaked in pain. And now, at the edge of this final whisper, you understand the paradox. The exhaustion you once feared has become the lens through which you truly see, the framework for understanding, the voice that now speaks softly but firmly in your own mind. As we move forward in this final chapter, remember that toxic love may feel familiar, like home, but home is never meant to hurt you. The familiar pain is a teacher disguised in shadows, a test of endurance and awakening. And as this series concludes, let this whisper carry one final message. You have the right to leave. You have the right to step away, to reclaim the pieces of yourself that were scattered along the way. And when you do, you will find the quiet satisfaction of someone who finally recognizes their own worth. You might wonder, how does exhaustion become who we are? How does endless giving, endless bending, endless adjusting transform into a personality? It starts quietly. A whisper at first, almost unnoticed, until it lingers, until it settles into the corners of your mind. It becomes a lens through which the world is filtered. Every action, every word, every glance, measured against the fatigue you have carried. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Haruki Murakami. Think on this. The exhaustion you feel is not weakness. It is the record of endurance. It is proof that you survived what many cannot even imagine. Yet, it molds you. It teaches you caution. It teaches you boundaries, even when boundaries feel like betrayal. It teaches you the secret language of self-preservation, coded into gestures, silence, and the steady beat of a heart that has refused to shatter completely. Have you noticed how familiar faces start to blur? How voices once cherished become noise? How the comfort you once sought in others begins to feel hollow? This is the moment exhaustion turns into personality. A filter, a shield, a quiet fortress around a tender core. It protects, but it also isolates. It clarifies, but it can distort. And here lies the danger: mistaking survival mechanisms for identity, mistaking the mask for the self. Pause, breathe. Recognize the difference between what you were forced to become and what you truly are beneath it all. Beneath the learned caution, beneath the defensive humor, beneath the quiet distance, there remains the person who felt deeply, who loved fully, who dared to hope in a world that often disappointed. You carry so much within you. It's time to let it speak. Unknown. And let it speak. Speak to yourself with kindness, not judgment. Allow the echoes of past toxicity to fade into memory, not into definition. This is the final chapter, not just of a series, but of a chapter of your life. The one where you endured love that wasn't reciprocal, where you gave more than you received, and where your soul learned resilience in ways words cannot fully capture. As we near the close, remember this: leaving toxic love isn't a one-time act. It is continuous. A conscious choice every day, in how you speak to yourself, in how you allow others to touch your life. In the quiet recognition that your exhaustion does not define your worth, it refines it. Each day you choose yourself is a victory. Each moment you reclaim your energy is a silent rebellion against the narrative you were given. There is a rhythm to pain, a cadence that only the heart can hear. It beats quietly beneath your consciousness, often unnoticed until the world around you presses too hard. Every sigh you swallowed, every tear you hid, every "I'm fine" whispered in empty rooms, they have left their mark. And yet, this rhythm is not your enemy. It is the reminder that you are still here, that you have endured, that your heart, though battered, still seeks meaning. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Khalil Gibran, pause. Let that sink. You are one of those souls. The scars are not imperfections. They are testimonies, intricate maps of where you have been, the people you have encountered, and the love you have given that perhaps was never returned in equal measure. But these maps also chart the paths toward self-discovery, toward wisdom that only the weary can possess. Consider this: the people who once drained your energy, who played with your emotions, who left silent wounds, they are now part of your history, not your identity. And identity, real identity, is not built on the approval or presence of others. It is forged in the quiet decisions, the boundaries drawn, the courage to leave what harms you. Pause again. Feel the weight of that. It is liberation. It is a subtle, almost invisible kind of victory that the world may never acknowledge, but your soul knows. You were never weak for walking away. You were strong for staying true to yourself. Unknown. And as this series comes to its final echoes, I remind you, this is not just an ending. It is a bridge from what has been to what is possible. Every episode you've listened to, every whisper you've held close, has been a step along this bridge. And at the end of it, you stand taller, wiser, and more aware of the quiet power within you. In leaving the toxic love behind, you are not losing anything. You are gaining yourself, your presence, your clarity, your voice. These are treasures reclaimed. The journey you have walked through pain and exhaustion now transforms into understanding, into agency, into the steady heartbeat of someone who knows their worth. You may ask yourself now, why did it feel so familiar, this toxicity? Why did love, something meant to nurture, feel like a slow erosion of your soul? The answer lies in the subtlety of its approach. Toxic love does not announce itself with alarm bells. It creeps, it whispers, it convinces you that pain is normal, that compromise is love, that surrender is devotion. Sometimes we create cages for ourselves and then wonder why we feel trapped. Unknown. Notice this: every exhausted decision, every act of overgiving, every silent endurance was not a flaw in you. It was the mirror of someone else's incapacity to love fully. And yet, your soul endured, not because it was meant to be broken, but because it was destined to awaken through trials that many would flee from. Imagine now the liberation that comes when you stop rationalizing their behavior, when you no longer make excuses for their cruelty or manipulation. This is the moment you reclaim your perception of reality, when you see clearly the boundaries of your own heart and the limits of what you are willing to tolerate. Pause. Let the reality of that ownership settle into your bones. There is an unspoken power in knowing you are enough, in knowing that your exhaustion was a testament to love that was not returned in kind, and that your survival is its own reward. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. Unknown. And here, in this final whisper of this series, the message becomes unmistakable. You are allowed to leave, to step away, to embrace life unburdened by those who could not see your value, to carry forward only what strengthens you and release what diminishes your spirit. Even as the series ends, remember, each episode, each whisper, each reflection has been a guide through the shadows. They have illuminated not just the pain, but the lessons hidden within it. Lessons about endurance, self-respect, and the courage to embrace your own worth. As you listen, let yourself feel the echoes of every choice you made for love, the sacrifices, the silences, the endless patience. Do not dismiss them as weakness. They were the proof of your capacity to feel deeply, to commit fully, even when the world around you offered betrayal and emptiness in return. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. Khalil Gibran. Consider the paradox. The exhaustion that once seemed like defeat is actually your most intimate teacher. It has shown you where your limits are, where your boundaries need to be, and how to honor yourself in ways you never allowed before. Your personality, shaped by endurance, is now an instrument of self-respect and discernment. And now, as we step into the final chapters of this episode, understand that leaving toxic love is not a dramatic exit. It is quiet, intentional, and profoundly liberating. It is an unfolding of every tethered piece of your heart, a reclamation of your energy, and a recognition that your worth has never depended on another's approval. Pause. Let the thoughts settle. The familiar pain is fading. The manipulations that once seemed inescapable are now visible in their smallness. Your eyes, once clouded by longing and hope, now see clearly. And with clarity comes choice. You do not have to accept the story that someone else wrote for you. Unknown. This is the gift of survival. To choose every day whom you allow into your life, how you let them speak to you, how you let their presence affect the rhythm of your heart. Toxic love, once a home, now becomes a lesson. And in leaving it behind, you step into the world with a profound understanding. Love is meant to uplift, not drain, It is meant to nourish, not trap. Remember this, weary soul. The journey of whispers for the weary ends here, but your journey of self-awareness, strength, and reclaiming your life continues. Each episode you listen to was a step toward this moment, this awakening to your own power and your own voice. And just when you think you've seen the edge of the abyss, a deeper darkness waits, whispering truths you weren't ready to face. This isn't the end. The story continues in part 2. Stay, listen closely, because the real lesson is about to begin. Now, we'll leave you with calming music to soothe your nerves and bring a soft kind of peace to your inner world.